The patient voice is the single most underutilized data set in healthcare. Unfortunately, it's a gap that costs you time, money, and trust. I learned that the hard way. I broke my neck in college back in 2005 and then spent years inside a healthcare maze built to measure satisfaction scores and surgical throughput. My actual problem kept getting missed. I went through 8 surgeries, including millions of dollars in procedures I never needed, and almost 2 decades on heavy opioids that completely changed my personality and who I was as a father and a husband, simply because the system optimized around its own workflows, not my experience. The patient advocate finally changed my trajectory, and so did a clinician who listened first, then acted. That lesson shaped Elevate. The data that matters most begins with the patients and the people who represent them. Advocates tell us that they often do not get involved or even invited into early clinical development, even though 81.19% believe companies should engage them in that early phase zero, phase one preclinical environment. 77.22% reporting the impact of patient reported outcomes as somewhat strong to extremely strong. They know that the voice of the patient and its utilization in the outcomes of a clinical trial and the value of that product are extremely important, but they're shocked to recognize that less than 50% of the industry is actually engaging them early on in phase one development. Yet huge portions of the field either opt out of FDA patient focused programs or park engagement in episodic listening sessions. That reveals appetite and value on paper, but underuse in practice. Why is it that the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries are the only economic verticals that don't see their end user of the product as their customer? We know you see the immense value of engaging these stakeholders early and often. Otherwise, you wouldn't find yourself in patient advocacy and engagement. Let us help you make the case for advocacy and engagement from cradle to grave of the development of a product. Meanwhile, literacy gaps wreck your message delivery. Don't even get me started on commercials on TV. Advocates report that many patients need materials written at the fourth or fifth grade reading level, with more common conditions like diabetes, COPD, and cardiovascular disease ranking closer to the second grade. If your copy reads like a white paper, you didn't communicate, you performed. Patients will continue to be left behind. That's the antithesis of patient advocacy and engagement. The academic side backs this up. A recent framework for measuring patient engagement impact lays out the problem. There's no single agreed upon metric set to track impact across the medicine's life cycle. Tools remain fragmented. Much of the engagement data sits locked in commercial and R&D silos behind confidentiality firewalls thanks to compliance. This blocks learning across programs within the company. Translation: companies talk about the patient voice, but systems don't capture, link, and reuse it with discipline. I got a new lease on life and celebrate my rebirthday every May 15th after a life-changing surgery that took place on May 15th, 2023. I was able to get out of pain that I suffered for 18 years and get off of opiates. And more importantly, get back to becoming the husband and father I knew I was, but was locked away thanks to the opiate. This was all because of an advocate and a doctor that thought outside of the box and listened to me as the patient. You too can have this level of impact on the lives of patients you serve. Bring them into the fold early and keep them with you until the product is no longer on the market. It's not just the right thing to do. It will remove inefficiencies and maximize the bottom line of your organization. In another opportunity, I was facilitating a medical engagement program being put on by a SYNGAP1, which is an ultra rare disease patient advocacy organization. They had brought in all of the heads of medical and clinical development programs in different pharma and biotech companies, as well as academic scientists that were investigating opportunities to treat or cure SYNGAP1. At the end of the meeting, one individual asked a question that changed the entire trajectory. Well, parents, because again, these are young children with severe mental handicaps, What do you have to say about what you've heard thus far today? You could have heard a pin drop at the Capitol Hill Club in DC, not a place that is recognized for silence. One mom got up, took the mic, and simply stated, you know, a cure would be great, but we're talking 12, 15, maybe 20 years down the road to cure this disease. What about my kid right now? I wish that one of you would simply focus on the specific type of epileptic seizures that our kids suffer from. They're different from any other type of seizure. And we as parents can deal and work with the severe mental handicaps and lack of pain signaling that our kids have. But when our children face a severe seizure multiple times a day, we as parents are helpless. We don't know what to do. We don't know what's going to happen next. And we're all afraid that this is going to be the seizure that takes our child from us. That one comment saved tens of millions of dollars in clinical development for companies that may have been looking to pursue a cure, was really a chase down a black hole. But it also opened up market opportunities for pharmaceutical companies that had anti-epileptic medications on the market to go to payers and bring patients and parents with them to those meetings to talk about getting the use of those medications opened up for SYNGAP1 patients. Again, sometimes all we have to do is listen, but oftentimes, as it's been said, the hardest part about listening is hearing the words that aren't said. When you treat the patient voice as a core data set, not a campaign, you unlock speed and precision. You may even believe you're slowing down by engaging patients. But I tell you from experience, you sometimes need to slow down to go fast. You design trials that recruit faster and finish on time. You ship materials people actually use. You avoid waste. The framework I just cited spells out how to convert insights into programs, then track outputs, outcomes, and impact so that teams can iterate instead of reset every quarter. That cycle cuts noise and builds compounding value. The true value that we know lies within every patient advocacy function in industry. So see how your advocacy and engagement teams are viewed in utilizing the patient voice in the Elevate Advocacy Intelligence Report now. Schedule a call to understand how we can help you ensure that you're maximizing your value and the patient voice and making real change come to life within your organization. You or your team could be the change agent your organization, the industry, and patients need to help rebuild trust with the patient community.